All right, Nuggets fans, welcome into Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by good friends here at Mile High Sports and FanDuel. I'm your host, Ryan Blackburn at NBA Blackburn on Twitter, part of the Mile High Sports Podcast Network. And I am here. I am ready to discuss an unfortunate Denver Nuggets loss last night. Was not expecting to go to the arena and see Denver lose to the Chicago Bulls, who were, as everybody has noted, on the second night of a back-to-back, going from Utah to Denver, playing an overtime game the previous night. I think that Denver probably had the same impression in that one, and that was one of the reasons why they dropped the game. We'll talk about it all. We'll talk about the third quarter, which I had so graciously written about prior to. Talk about the third quarter being a problem in this game as opposed to the big solution that the Nuggets have used so far. First bad loss for Denver. I think that the other two can be fully explained away by different circumstances. The first one was opening night. The next one against the Blazers, they got kind of screwed by the officiating, and also the Blazers, like it was just a road game as well. So like you don't stress too much about losing road games. But this was a home game. This was a game in front of your home crowd and one that you should have gotten done, just straight up. And I think all of the Nuggets feel that way, whether they are stressed or not about it after winning 7 games in a row remains to be seen. And this is, I think, one of those telling points. Like, how does this loss kind of impact you? Like, do you let it bother you? Do you keep doing the same thing, or do you flush it and like just put together better efforts going forward, which I think is probably what will happen. We'll talk about it all in this episode. Really appreciate everybody for stopping by. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. Going through the game flow here to start this one. The first and third quarters were almost mirror images of each other, except the third quarter was worse. We'll get to that in just a bit. But first quarter, you can understand why Denver got off to a slow start. They started a new lineup. Cam Johnson back in the starting lineup. Peyton Watson moves to the shooting guard position. He actually got the opening bucket of the game on a left corner three. It was the only three he attempted on the game, was not super involved throughout. And I do think that that's more notable than my colleague over at Locked On Nuggets, Matt Moore, as we talked about last night. He doesn't necessarily think it's that big of a deal. I think, like, based off of Denver's style of play, it's a big deal for sure. Not big deal is relative, of course. But Denver, they don't necessarily have the success that you would expect them to have on the offensive end. And they only score 28 points. Chicago scores 30. Denver giving up open threes on a consistent basis. The Bulls didn't even shoot that great of a percentage from three. That's the thing about all of this. Throughout the game, they waxed and waned from a three-point shooting perspective. Early on, they were hitting everything. They started like 7 of 12, 9 of 14, somewhere in that general range. And it just felt like they couldn't miss. It felt like they were doing everything they could to keep themselves in the game. They weren't necessarily finishing around the rim a ton. They weren't creating a whole bunch of mid-range shots or anything. They weren't getting to the free throw line an extensive amount. But Denver still was giving up wide open threes. And it was part of the game plan pretty clearly. Like, you don't give up 53 attempts from three and like that be, oh yeah, we didn't mean to give up threes. No, that was clearly something that they prioritized, clearly something that they were okay with. With the Bulls on the second night of a back-to-back, I get it, but you gave them 53 three-pointers. And asking Nikola Jokic about it last night, he said it was kind of a mix of, hey, didn't have the best closeouts, didn't have the best reads and reacts for communication purposes and being able to get out to the places that they were supposed to be. I don't know how much I buy. I just kind of think that Denver didn't take the Bulls seriously from a three-point shooting perspective, because it wasn't just Joker. Like Jamal, I thought, had some poor closeouts the entire night. Aaron, I thought, was pretty slow on that regard. Peyton Watson's guarding Josh Giddey the entire time. Cam Johnson, I thought, was pretty good, but it really was the main three guys, I think, that were most at fault there. And then with the second unit, where it just kept going bad to worse, it was just a pretty bad personnel that was getting Denver out there. I can throw the rotation chart up on the screen so that people can get the context of who was out there at any given point. Yeah, let's do that now. Starting the second quarter, you had Jamal Murray, Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr., Spencer Jones, Jonas Valanciunas. And to me, this was a very notable group that was out there. It wasn't necessarily any one person's fault. I do think that Valanciunas was poor in this particular game. He was minus 15 in 5 minutes, really struggled on the offensive end, did get to the line a couple of times, but had a couple turnovers, missed the one shot that he attempted. And then like everybody else, it was never comfortable. It was never a situation where you could get yourself fully into the game. And as a result, Denver went down 18 points early in that second quarter, midway through that second quarter, somewhere around. Cam Johnson came back in and tried to help stabilize some things. It wasn't perfect. It was until Jokic and Gordon and Peyton Watson came back in that they really started to figure out some things. And that definitely helped them. Looking at it now, like just Jokic was very forward. Aaron Gordon was very forward. They were both in the half court. They were both applying a lot of pressure at the rim. Some misses for sure, but they grabbed some offensive rebounds and were able to put back their misses. But then in transition, you get some offensive plays, and Cam Johnson, like, welcome to Denver. Really good plays from Cam Johnson for sure. It was nice to see him get some stuff to go. He finished the game with 19 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 6 of 12 from the field, 5 of 7 from 3, 2 of 2 from the line. That is a nice game from Cam Johnson, plus 13 in a game that Denver loses by 3. But then Denver was fighting uphill the entire time, just trying to get back into this one. And it felt like after they tie the game there, they go into halftime with a lead. It felt like, okay, after all of the damage that had been done in the first half, you recover, you put yourself into a good position to succeed, and you're okay. Like, didn't matter that the bench really struggled when they came in. Didn't matter that Jokic started 1 of 7 from the field. I'm pretty sure a couple turnovers as well in the first quarter. He was bad. He was just straight up bad. It didn't matter. That wasn't a big deal. You tied it up, or even got a 1-point lead, and now going into the third quarter, your best quarter, it should be a good opportunity for you to really put your foot down and say, okay, we are going to take advantage of we're going to take advantage of a team that is on the second night of a back-to-back that doesn't have a lot of energy. And then Denver sucked in the third quarter because of course they did. It's like, so here's the funny thing is, like, I write about this stuff. I try to come up with insights. I try to look at, okay, what are the interesting things that are trending with the Nuggets, that are happening with the Nuggets? And so through the first 12 games, not including this one, through the first 12 games, the Nuggets had won 9 out of 12 third quarters. They had tied in 1. They had lost one of the third quarters by 1 point, and then they lost another by 9 points. That was against Golden State, and they went on to lose that game, obviously. They have been fantastic in the third quarter before this past game. They've been amazing. Like, they have the best net rating of any team. The plus minus was really good. This is a quarter that you would expect, and as I talked about yesterday on the show, is a quarter that you would expect the best teams to show up and play their best. And the numbers bore that out until Denver decided that they were going to shut it down in the third quarter. They allowed 40 points for the Bulls. They could not get any stops. It was rim runs. It was pull-up threes. It was transition opportunities. It was just in the half court, not closing out to 3-point shooters. Is a lot. And it's hard to blame Like a lot of people are going to just blame Jokic, and I don't think that that is exactly what it is. Um, it's- God, we've what's going on here? Why is um is that Mars? Is that who that is? Like, all right, whatever. Um, I think that like a lot of people are going to blame Joker, and I asked him about the closeouts and the defensive shots that they were giving up, and said it was a combination of a lot of different things. They tried a lot of different coverages. They were probably just not good enough closing out, and people are not going to like that answer because it doesn't apply like, hey, a bunch of accountability or anything like that. It doesn't apply. Oh yeah, we can. It's an easily identifiable problem that you can rectify. It just takes more effort, man. I think that's all it was. It was a low effort performance from the Nuggets, from Jokic on the defensive end. I thought that this looked a lot like Jokic from last year, where, hey, and I kind of get why. I understand why it happened because 4 minutes that he got for a break in between the first and second quarter, Jonas Valanciunas comes in, really struggles. The Nuggets bench really struggles, and Joker's back out there. It's probably flashbacks to exactly, um, to exactly what the problem was for Denver last year. But you can't have that happen. Like it just you have to be better than that. You have to be more well-rounded than that. And you have to like come up with a defensive coverage that is going to give you a better chance to succeed. Now, to be fair, again, Denver only allowed 36% from three. It wasn't just the three-point shooting that was the problem. It was the fact that Denver gave up 13 offensive rebounds. It was that they allowed 19 free throw attempts. It's that they only turned the Bulls over 9 times in the game. And that their 2-point percentage that they allowed was, I think, about 59%. So there's a lot of things that you can point to with Denver's overall defensive performance. That's not just the 3-point shooting. But whatever, like they give up 40 points. They are down. They have to find more opportunities to improve in that regard. But they still had an opportunity in the fourth quarter. They still were able to work it back in. And for Denver, like you wouldn't expect that, but they go small. They don't even play Jonas Valanciunas in the second half. They play Aaron Gordon at the 5. Jamal Murray comes in and he like has a really good scoring performance overall. 34 points from Jamal Murray on like 11 or 12 of 22 from the field, 5 of 11 from 3. He was very impactful and helped them get back into it. But unfortunately, just not enough went Denver's way as well. They were not efficient enough. They turned the ball over at the wrong points, and they just couldn't get enough stops in combination with that. Like the 27 points that they allowed to Chicago was their best defensive quarter, but it still wasn't enough because Denver only put up 34 on their own. And they were never able to really fully get going offensively in the first and third quarter, like you would expect for a team that has Jokic out there the entire time. Jokic, I thought, was pretty shaky, despite the fact that, hey, like, look, it's pretty arrogant to think that a guy that had 36 points, 18 rebounds, 13 assists was having a bad game. I think he was having a bad game. He did make a late 3 that was really impressive, that gave Denver a lead at that point. But it just wasn't meant to be. Clearly, Denver did not have a lot of things going their way. There was some weird officiating stuff that happened late in this game again. They probably should have been granted a jump ball as opposed to a timeout for the Bulls. And that would have obviously changed a whole lot. Denver challenged late in this game a ball that David Adelman thought went off of Nikola Vucevic's leg as opposed to going off of Jokic, who stripped him of the ball. And when you have things like that, it kind of both go against you at that point. Denver was without a timeout. That impacted them in the way that they handled their last couple of plays, and they weren't able to draw anything up. And as a result, the Bulls knew what they were going to run. Jokic has to take a 35-footer from 3. It's unfortunate that they couldn't generate anything better than that, but clearly they they'll have to work on it. That's something that they have to work on for sure. There's a lot of things that you can point to as a reason for why Denver lost this game. It's not their best performance. They did not take the Bulls seriously enough, but Denver just didn't execute as well as they need to as well. Murray had a late turnover that really killed the momentum while Denver was trying to come back. He was great for the entire time, but I don't blame him that much, because you look at the rotation chart, look at what Murray's minutes look like in the second half, where he gets 1 minute. It really was like a minute 20 of break in that third quarter, but then he played the entire rest of the way. And just I'm not surprised that Murray made a late error with his decision making when he didn't rest at all in that fourth quarter. So it's tough. Like you like, whether that would have happened if he had rested, who knows? But Denver certainly doesn't like they don't get close enough because Murray wasn't putting them on his back the entire time. So yeah, it's tough. It is tough. Pickett didn't do a lot. Fake Talk FC says no backup point guard, chose Pickett over Russ. They are like yeah, they I don't know if they chose Pickett. That's not the real reason. It was just that they would rather have the flexibility at this point, that they want an actual shooting point guard, somebody that they can really trust in those situations. But yeah, they're looking for a point guard, as my guy Matt Moore on the latest Locked On episode broke towards the end of that. So they're doing due diligence for sure. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm curious to see how Denver responds to this one. And it was not awesome. Not an awesome way for them to lose. Nobody's going to feel good about this. If they turn the page and they win the next 4, people aren't going to be that frustrated. I'll say that. But this one in the moment certainly feels like a really horrible, really bad loss. And that's because it was. You don't lose to the Chicago Bulls at home. Like, there's a whole bunch of reasons why the Bulls could have folded tonight. They gave them good effort. They gave the Nuggets a good effort. Denver still should have been able to win, like, despite the fact that the Bulls didn't roll over. So it is what it is. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we are going to discuss whether the defense is smoke and mirrors or not. Like, what is how real or fake is the defense itself, as well as how many bad losses can the Nuggets afford to take? We'll be right back here on Pickaxe and Roll. This podcast is brought to you by Delete Me. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone feel vulnerable. Data brokers, they profit off of your data. It's a commodity. Anyone on the web can buy your private details. This can lead to identity theft, phishing attempts, and harassment. Have you ever been the victim of identity theft, harassment, doxing? If you haven't, you probably know someone who has. Delete Me can help. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to deleteme.com/hit and use promo code HIT at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/HIT and enter code HIT at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/HIT, code HIT. All right, we are back. Pickaxe and Roll, Ryan Blackburn here. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. Okay, I need to address this. OKC beat the Bulls by 50. OKC is way better than us. Yeah, from a regular season perspective, they absolutely are. Like, they're absolutely better. It doesn't mean that the Thunder are going to beat the Nuggets in the playoffs. The way that the Nuggets handle the Bulls in the regular season in November, that's not how you determine a champion. It just isn't. Like, the way that the Nuggets approach those matchups are far more important to me. How they match up with OKC, how they match up with Minnesota, how they match up with the Lakers, how they match up with whoever's at the top of the Western Conference, that matters much more to me. Now, like, there are things you can take away. Denver didn't have a good bench game, and maybe their bench is a little bit weaker than people would expect, given the way that they started the season. There are some things that you can, like, point to, But was this actually like I don't know, man. Like this is if your opinion on the Nuggets changed because of this game against the Chicago Bulls, then you are not strong enough in your convictions. Just not strong enough. So mine certainly did not change. I still think the Nuggets are going to win the championship this year. I still think that they have enough, and they had losses like this back in 2023, like pretty consistently, honestly. They had losses like this. They've shown enough of what they need to show. And it's just about continuing to build, continuing to hone in different things and be the best version of themselves. This is not the reason. Like, this game is not the reason to be off of the Nuggets bandwagon. Are you kidding me? Like, it's just, that's an insane thing to think. Okay. Now, with all that being said, are the Nuggets a smoke and mirrors defense? Are they a defense that you can really trust to lock in and be the best version of themselves at the right time? After watching the defense over the course of the first 13 games, what I have noticed more than anything is that the Nuggets are getting lucky from three. They are getting lucky in the manner that they are giving up threes, that they are giving up on a consistent basis to teams that should be making more and so far have not made enough. They absolutely should be better than they are, but they are not. Like, I don't know. I think there's the difference between like. So here's what they're saying. Like, gimmick zone defense is not what you should be going with. OKC plays zone defense not as frequently as Denver right now, but OKC plays defense. Like, they play zone. Miami for years has played zone defense and been very successful with it. I think that Denver is a team that is, for the first time, because they haven't really done this before. Last year in the playoffs, they did this, but they didn't really like. And okay, God, good Lord, OKC has elite defenders everywhere. Yeah, no crap, man. Like, obviously, they are a historic, unbelievable defense. They are an amazing defense. If you compare the Nuggets defense to the Thunder defense, you're going to like self combust. The Thunder are a historic defense, but that doesn't mean that you can win a defense, like you can win a championship without having a historic level of defense. You can. Denver's done it already. They are absolutely going to be okay. It's about matchups. It's about the way that you apply the game plan. It's about forcing the opposing team to be uncomfortable. Like, Denver is a better team than they were last year going up against the OKC Thunder. Like they will be better in that matchup than they were previously. They're smarter. They are high IQ. They have more spacing. They are more confident at that matchup. They're a better option. Yeah, it's yes, you can also win a championship without a historic offense. Okay, that's fine. Fortunately, Denver does have a historic offense. They have an unbelievable offense. I don't understand what the OKC fanboys have popped in here for this Nuggets show. Like where what is this? Like, this is, mind your business, guys. Like, I don't understand what the point is in berating this particular show. Okay, you're getting muted. Okay. Denver is better defensively this year than they were last year, objectively. Last year they were horrible. They were a subpar defense that did not try enough, that wasn't connected enough. This year they are connected enough. That's not the point. One loss against the Chicago Bulls does not change my opinion on that. If this happens again versus New Orleans, if they can't match up against Houston, if they have a whole bunch of if they have a whole bunch of issues against all of these different teams, then sure, that's fine. If this is a one game blip and Denver didn't if it happens more than one game, then it becomes a trend. That's like literally the definition. But to me, the defense is completely like effort based. And Denver didn't give effort last night. They were not good enough in terms of contesting. I think they thought that the Bulls were going to roll over. I think they thought that the Bulls were just going to brick everything, that they were going to give up, and they were just going to be completely shaky. And that would ultimately lead for a 25-point Nuggets win. And when that didn't happen, they're like, "Oh, okay, guess we gotta try now." And they ultimately made enough mistakes at the end that when they started trying, it didn't ultimately matter. And Cody says here, think they looked a little tired too. You're right. Like Denver does look a little bit tired. It does seem to me like they could probably use a little bit more of the depth. They've been playing mostly a 9-man rotation the entire time. And for Jokic, like he hasn't had a break all season so far. Murray, I think, looked fine. Like he looked tired towards the end, but that's because of the minutes that he was playing in a row. Gordon slowed down in the fourth quarter, although it's because he'd been working hard in the first through third quarter. Yeah, there's definitely a possibility there. So Denver's got to get more from their bench on a consistent basis. Also, I think that they should be getting to guys like Jalen Pickett, Zeke Naji, Hunter Tyson on occasion, just to give a little bit of a break to the main group and change up the energy at least a little bit. It's not great though. Like me saying that is one thing, but Denver has to act like those guys actually have to deserve it for another. Julian Strawther could have played last night, but he was injured. He was in street clothes. So wouldn't surprise me if he's healthy, then he gets an opportunity to at least kind of break things up a little bit. But it's tough. It's a tough place for them to be. I think that the defense overall, like I've been talking about, the defense that I compare them to is the Boston Celtics from a profile perspective. That if the Nuggets want to be an elite defense, then they're going to do it the way that the Boston Celtics did it, which is you guard on the perimeter and you sometimes give up interior shots, but you just trust that you're going to contest reasonably well. You do not give up offensive rebounds. You do not give up free throw attempts. And you don't turn the ball over. Like you don't force the opposing team to turn the ball over. But that's because you're in position the entire time. The Celtics were a positional defense, a smart defense. And that's one of the ways that they won a title with the personnel that they had. Now, Denver doesn't have that same level of personnel. And so they were never going to be like going into last night. I think they were the second or third ranked defense. They're not the second or third ranked defense. That's not who they are. They are closer to 8th to 10th. And that's fine. Fortunately, you could still win a championship with being the 8th to 10th ranked defense in the regular season. You got to amp it up in the playoffs, obviously, but to be like a champion, you don't have to try that hard in the regular season defensively. You have to be competent. That doesn't mean you have to be elite. And there's a difference there. Like you can be, and the Thunder, as I mentioned, like they've proven that they were a historic team last year with a historic level defense, and that really carried them through. I think that Denver needs another creator with the ball. The lack of point guard definitely hurts at times where Murray is coming back in with the second unit. But a lot of the time with the bridge units that Denver uses is a little bit different because this time they brought in Bruce Brown. They brought in Tim Hardaway Jr. off the bench at the same time. And Bruce is playing the de facto point guard. And that's okay. But Bruce wasn't really good last night. He wasn't really involved. He was giving up the ball a lot to Joker, but his shooting around the rim has not been good enough just from a floater perspective. He's been getting blocked a lot of the time. And when he's not making threes, there's just not a lot that he's doing from a creation standpoint. And so Denver doesn't have a lot of other guys that can create other than Jokic and Murray. And then Aaron Gordon, I think, deserves to be in that category as well. While Cam Johnson has, Actually, well, the point that the offense I think is what it is. They'll still be great. Like that's not the question. Um, I'm curious to see what the offense looks like against better competition. Obviously, Denver hasn't faced that great of competition over the course of this entire season. Houston will be their first major test. Curious to see what they bring to that matchup. I do want to, yeah, got to credit Cam Johnson. I mentioned it a little bit earlier too, but 19 points is just a really good sign that he was able to, first of all, get those shots, but second of all, make them. He was always going to make them, like eventually, but very clearly fourth in the pecking order still, like in a distant fourth behind Jokic, who took 27 shots, Murray, who took 22, Gordon, who took 18, and then Cam Johnson took 12. It's good that he was able to get more involved, and I hope that as he continues to find that rhythm, find those opportunities, that he can continue to find more shooting, more times to be aggressive, and then create opportunities for everybody else. But we'll see what it ultimately looks like. It is jarring with the backup point guard conversation. Just looking at the box score right now, Denver had 0 assists with their second unit. Jalen Pickett came in, played 10 minutes, but he gave up the ball a ton. Bruce Brown, de facto backup point guard sometimes, but shifts over to the 2 when Jamal Murray is out there. 0 assists for him, and then 0 assists for Tim Hardaway Jr. The offense just wasn't clicking. It wasn't clicking last night. It will be better eventually, but for now, it hasn't been great. For what it's worth, I think that this loss didn't really affect the standing stuff or anything. This loss didn't really affect Denver's odds. According to FanDuel, Denver's odds to win the title, like OKC is still the clear favorite at plus 170. Denver's still second at plus 650. Like they are very clearly like second in that conversation, but ahead of everybody else at this point. They have separated themselves, I think, from everybody else in terms of who people think has the best shots at taking down OKC if there is an opportunity to do so. And then from a regular season standpoint, Denver's odds for wins right now, the over-under line has risen to 56.5, according to FanDuel. It was at 54.5 when the season started. It's now risen to 56.5, and I think rightfully so, right? Denver has proven that they can and should be credited for the way that they have started the year. They've been very serious. This was the first time where I thought it was unserious, where I thought it was, okay, you didn't apply the principles that you had been putting forth for the entire time. And so this was really the first bad loss, the first opportunity that they had where they didn't approach the way that they were supposed to approach it. Now, you can do this throughout the year. This isn't bad. Like, it is a bad loss, but like, it's not that bad if it's just one. You know what I mean? Like, if this happened 12 times, then you have some different things that you're thinking about. Denver's lost 3 total games. If they just go 10-3 for the entire season, if they go 10-3 again throughout the year, they're going to win about 60 games, 65 games. They're not going to maintain that pace the entire time. So how many bad losses can you actually afford to take? I've always thought that Denver, like if they were going to go 58-24, that would, first of all, it would set a franchise record. That would be really cool. Second of all, like that probably still gets you the 2 seed. Like OKC is going to get the 1. They're going to push for 70. But do you really need to also match up with what they are doing? No. Like you just need to be a top 3 seed and you need to be there comfortably. And you need to make sure that other teams are not going to like step on that, are not going to infringe on that and force you to have to work a little bit harder later. So 58-60 wins, I think, is the target number. I think that that's perfectly reasonable. And so how many times can you lose games like this? I think it's about 5. I think there's about 4 to 5 times where you could say, okay, bad loss, shouldn't have happened. It's not just at home. Like you can do this, you can have a bad loss on the road too, just because Denver's bad losses, like they were to Golden State and Portland. Those aren't great teams, but they're good. They're try hard teams. Like when they're trying. Denver lost to Golden State when they were good. And so Denver just caught them at the wrong time, obviously. I think that 5 losses throughout the year in situations like this, where it's okay, you lost a game at home that you should have won. You didn't go on the road and take a team seriously, and they caught you. Like 5 times throughout the year, I think is pretty reasonable. So, okay, this is the one time where it happens in the first 1/5 of the season. So you've got another, like right now, you've got about 85% of the season left, somewhere in that general range. You can't have another one of these for a while. You have to really put your foot down. If you want to pace, if you want to be in a good situation where you're getting to about 60, you have to put this behind you and approach the rest of the couple weeks that you've got a little bit better. Let me see. Where is this? There it is. I'm going to pull up the schedule real quick. From now until, gosh, I just need to, I'm going to drink some coffee real quick. Sorry. From now until December 7th, Denver's played 13 games. From now until game 23, which is before the break that happens for the NBA Cup. From now until then, Denver plays another 10 games. Here are their 10 games. At New Orleans, at Houston, versus Sacramento on the second night of back-to-back. That's a dangerous one. At Memphis, versus San Antonio. At Phoenix, versus Dallas. Oh, the Phoenix was the second night of a back-to-back as well. That is a dangerous one. Versus Dallas. At Indiana, at Atlanta, at Charlotte. Mostly winnable games. You've got a couple of tough matchups in Houston and San Antonio, excuse me. Phoenix has been surprisingly good. Houston is, of course, just genuinely good. And then you've got a couple of games that are second night of back-to-back. If you go 6-4 during that stretch, that should be disappointing. Like, you should be able to factor in, okay, you're probably going to lose one of those back-to-back games, and you're probably going to lose one of those like tougher matchups against Houston or San Antonio. You can't lose both of them. And if you do lose both of them, then you have to take care of the games on the back-to-back. If you lose all 4 of those games and you actually kind of go into a little bit of a spiral here, then you're in a tougher pickle. Like Denver should be like right now they're 10-3. If they are 16-7 heading into that stretch against like going into the NBA Cup, that's actually a disappointment. I know that 16-7 doesn't sound that bad, but like the way that Denver is at the beginning of this year, they should, like, can and should be taking care of business on the road against some of these teams. Like New Orleans, Memphis is really struggling. Indiana, Atlanta, Charlotte. Atlanta's been better, I think, than people would expect, but I still think that Denver can and should beat them. Like if they lose that game, that's okay, but it means you have to make up ground in another place. So I think that 7-3 should be the bar in that stretch. If they go 7-3 and better, that's pretty good. If they go 8-2, like really great. If they go 9-1, that means that the Chicago loss doesn't matter. You've made up for the fact that the Chicago loss ever happened. And if you go 10-0, like I'm going to say this now. They will never win 10 games in a row. It is never, ever going to happen. I mentioned it on Locked On. It is never going to happen. That's just not who this Nuggets team is. They need reminders every now and then that it's not easy. They need reminders every now and then that the process has to be good. Their process erodes at various points. Like you win 6 games in a row, you win 7 games in a row, and then you just lose track sometimes. And that's okay. Like, it happens to the best of us. But I just think that Denver, they probably aren't going to go 10-0 during that stretch. They're probably not going to go 9-1. Probably not going to go 8-2. If they go 7-3, that's good. If they go 6-4, it's pretty shaky. If they go anything worse than 6-4 over these next 10 games, that's when you can really start to point to the Chicago loss and be like, that was a problem. That was a bad loss. So this is what happens when you focus in on this is what happens when you really focus in on just the different aspects of the regular season. Every game matters. Every single game does. You want to take advantage of the opportunities when you have an easier matchup. Denver did have that opportunity. I'm curious to see how they handle it. Good Lord. How these teams just keep finding, is this just like some fan for player's choice? Like, I see Ox there. Like, what's going on, man? Like, OKC did it though. Denver's not OKC. Like, OKC is a historic regular season team, and they won a championship. But they are a historic regular season team. Gotta get these OKC fans out of here. I don't understand what's going on. Maybe it's just trolls. I don't know. All right. Well, that's what I've got. That's all I've got here for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by Mile High Sports and FanDuel. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. I will talk to you guys on Thursday.